Okay, daar kan ek weer. Okay, op die 25ste Mei, okay, dan laat ek van vooraf weer begin, vir die wat nie gehoor het nie. Ek dink dat is bitter min, maar laat ons weer. Ek verwelkom julle almal na die kerk vanoggend en ek hoop julle het 'n baie geseënde Sabbat. Vir die van julle wat besoekers is, hoop ek julle het 'n wonderlike dag en julle voel ekstra verwelkom. Ons gaan begin met die huweliksherdenkings en die verjaarsdag. So die verjaarsdag is op die 22ste Mei was dit Johan Havenga, op die 23ste Mei was dit Anton Kutse. Kutse? I'll never get this right. Havenga. Okay, Havenga, Havenga. Close enough. 25 Mei was dit Alicia Leroux en Mariette Pieterse en op die 26ste Mei was dit Abigail Swallenepoel. So in 'n huweliksherdenking was daar een hierdie week en dit was op die 21 in die week wat kom, nie in hierdie week nie. In die week wat kom is en dit was Konrad en Maureen Niemand. Ons wens julle 'n voorspoedige nuwe jaar, ja. Ja, dit is 'n nuwe jaar in julle lewe. En mag die Here julle ryklik seën. Reg. Dan gebedsversoeke. Is daar enige gebedsversoeke? Steek asseblief julle hand op en 'n diaken met die mikrofoon sal kom.
Okay, now it's crunch time. Tomorrow is the great big day. And thank you for all your prayers and for all the volunteers. So if we can have one last prayer going up for tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Enige ander hande? Lucky fish. Enige stille versoeke? Nee, wag. Vir Vicky. Okay, enige stille versoeke? Blye harte? Okay, dan sal Kerla nou die openingsgebed doen.
Kom ons sluit ons oë. Liewe Here, ons dankie dat ons vandag by mekaar kon kom in U huis. Ons dankie vir jou liefde en alles wat jy doen en vir ons voorsien. Here, jy het die gebedsversoeke gehoor, nog voor hulle gevra is. Ons bid vir versterking en genesing vir almal wat ly of siek is. Ons dink hier aan Vicky. Ons bid vir almal wat deur 'n moeilike tyd gaan of 'n stille versoek het. U ken die nood in hulle harte. Ons bid vir ons kinders, hulle welsyn en toekoms. Ons vra dat U in ons lewens sal lei en U wil aan ons bekend maak. Ons vra vir seëning met môre se gesondheidsexpo en al die volunteers wat daar gaan betrokke wees en dat jy sal dit seën tot die uitbreiding van U koninkryk. Seën asseblief die voorprogram en laat jou boodskap deur Wendy deurkom. Ons bid dit in U heilige naam. Amen.
Ons nooi nou die diakens na vore om vir die opneem van die offergawe terwyl ons na die sending video kyk.
2 jaar oude Denisa was baie lief vir die skool. Dit was lekker om met haar beste maatjie Timmy te speel. As Timmy egter met ander maatjies gespeel het, was Denisa ongelukkig en het hardop begin huil. Dit het elke dag gebeur. Wat kon Denisa gelukkig maak? Denisa en Timmy het altyd vroeg by hulle skooltjie in Remenia aangekom. Timmy se mammie was die juffrou en sy het Denisa elke oggend op pad skool toe opgelaai. Eendag het Denisa en Timmy soos gewoonlik voor die ander kinders aangekom. Hulle het lekker wegkruipertjie gespeel. Hulle het onder die groot blou en groen tafel weggekruip. Toe in die badkamer, toe agter die stoele en ook met klei gewerk en prente ingekleur. Na 'n rukkie het ander kinders begin kom en Timmy het met hulle gespeel. Denisa was dadelik ongelukkig. Sy wil al die aandag vir haarself hê. Toe gaan sit sy in die hoekie op die vloer en begin hardop huil. Waa! Die juffrou is na haar toe en het haar vasgehou. Jy hoef nie te huil nie, sê sy. Dit is beter om saam te speel as net met Timmy. Denisa het opgehuil. Dit was lekker om aandag van die juffrou te kry. Kom ons bid vir Jesus, sê juffrou. Denisa het geweet hoe om te kniel en te bid, want al die kinders het dit elke oggend voor godsdiens gedoen. Toe kniel sy die juffrou. Die juffrou het eers gebid. Liewe Jesus, help asseblief vir Denisa om kalm te word en te verstaan dat dit beter is om met almal te speel, nie net met Timmy nie. Denisa het gebed om op te hou huil. Toe vra juffrou Denisa om te help om aktiwiteite vir die kinders voor te berei. Na 'n rukkie is Denisa na 'n groep kinders toe en het saam met hulle begin speel. Hulle het legkaarte gebou van voeltjies, paddas, springkane, vlinders en goue vissies. Sy het verhaal gehou van 'n klein voeltjie met 'n geel borsie en bruin en groen vlerke. Juffrou het baie keer daardie jaar saam met Denisa gebid. In die tweede jaar het dit baie beter gegaan. Na 'n rukkie het Denisa op Sabbat saam met Timmy en die juffrou kerk toe gegaan. Die juffrou het die Sabbatskoolklas geneem. Dit was heerlik vir Denisa om in die klas te bid en meer van Jesus te leer. Vandag is Denisa 10 en sy bid nog steeds gereeld. In die Sabbatskool is sy altyd eerste om haar hand op te steek om te bid. Denisa en Timmy is nog steeds beste maatjies. Hulle speel amper elke dag saam. 'n Gedeelte van jou 13de Sabbatoffergawe sal help om 'n skool en naskoolsentrum in Roemenië te open, waar kinders kan leer om te bid, net soos Denisa by die Adventiste skool. Dankie dat jy planne maak om 'n goeie offergawe te gee.
Kom ons sluit ons oë. Here Jesus, ons vra u seëning op die offergawe, die bydrae wat almal kon maak vanoggend. Seën dit, seën die wat kon gee en die wat nie kon gee nie. Ons bid dat die geld sal gebruik word tot die lof en die uitbreiding van u woord. Ons bid dit in die heilige naam. Amen.
Right, so I'm going to present on a rather difficult topic, and that is dealing with depression. It ties in with the health program of tomorrow, where we're looking at your physical health, but I thought we should also look at another aspect, which is your mental health. So I'm just giving a warning. There are discussions of suicide in this message. So if you're sensitive to this topic, feel free to leave without any judgment from anyone. Right. So then the overview. Depression is a very broad banner given to a lot of conditions, and it covers a lot of conditions. Feeling depressed is not the same as suffering from depression. Feeling depressed can feel like depression and can have the same impact on your function, on your everyday activities, such as work, school, being at home, your relationships, and social situations. But feeling depressed versus being depressed has a far shorter duration, which tends to be around 2 to 4 weeks. And then you will start to feel better and recover. So what is a depressive disorder? Right? Depression is a whole body illness that affects both the body, your mood, and your thoughts. It affects the way you eat, the way you sleep, and the way you feel about yourself, and the way you even think about things. It is not a sign of personal weakness or a condition that can be wished or willed away. People with depression cannot merely pull themselves together and get better. Without treatment, symptoms can last weeks, months, or even years. Appropriate treatment, however, can mean that most of these people can will stop suffering from their depression and can lead normal lives. Right, so the main causes of depression are normally external events, a genetic predisposition, an imbalance in the chemistry in the brain, certain medical conditions can cause it. Unfortunately, some medications can cause it as well as substance abuse. You'll see I'm quoting, I'll quote quite a bit today from the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. They have a wonderful webpage with lots of resources that is aimed at people with anxiety and depression. And if you suffer from this, I do recommend going to their website to get hold of some of their material. I have given their contact numbers at the end of this presentation. Right, so the statistics, the part I wouldn't miss because this is what I do for a living. So 70% of people that suffer from depression have some form of mental disorder. In South Africa, and these numbers are from 2016, roughly 23 people commit suicide a day. That really means that nearly 8,000 people, we lose nearly 8,000 people a year to suicide. And for every one person that commits suicide, there are 10 attempts. So luckily we have a low success rate, else that number would be even more terrifying. Throughout my life, various thoughts and attempts throughout especially during my youth. There were quite a few. And I obviously was, let's say, one of the unsuccessfuls or not very, let's say not very motivated to succeed. And the reasons I wasn't why I didn't succeed or I didn't commit suicide was in the beginning I thought, what will this do to my family? What will my family feel like if I commit suicide? You know, what a burden will it be on them to have lost a family member like this? And over the years, I've seen what it has done to other families, and the hurt it brings those families for those that are left behind. Second of all, at the time, I was young, so I wasn't baptized. So if I die and I'm not baptized, I'm not going to go to heaven. So this might sound like a terrible motivation, but I also wouldn't get baptized just so that I could go to heaven or commit suicide, because I knew committing suicide was committing murder, and it was a sin I would not be able to repent for and ask for forgiveness for, which in my mind then meant I would still not be able to go to heaven. Right? The other thought that I had when I was younger was that God put us on earth to complete, we are tools for God, and He put us on earth to complete tasks. So once we'd achieved the tasks God had set out for us, He would let us die peacefully. So I just had to hold out until I'd done what God had required of me, and then I would be able to die. Right? So being in a suicide is a dark place, a very dark place. Eventually, I started thinking, well, maybe going to heaven wasn't so important. Rather, dying and not going to heaven and having eternal death was better than this temporary, continuous torture that depression gave me. Right? Other feelings that you feel when suicidal, not all of these are applicable to me, but other feelings you feel when depressed are you feel isolated, and you tend to isolate yourself, so you aggravate this particular condition. Anxiety, this is either a driving cause of leading to depression, or it can be a result of the depression. You can feel anxious that you are not able to be the person you were before you had your episode. Self-doubt. You doubt everything you do while you're in that moment. Everything you think about, I'm useless. I can't do this. I can't achieve anything. Why can't I be happy like other people? Shame. That's the other thing. It is, you feel shame because you can't be happy like everyone else, and you're ashamed of your condition and your state of being. Right? Stress. When you're in a depressive episode, you're generally less functional than the average person. And this creates stress because you're not able to do everything you were able to do before. So you fall behind on deadlines and you can't get around to doing everything you want to do, which creates more stress, which creates more anxiety, which feeds each other, which feeds the condition and only turns into a vicious cycle. Despair. So as the cycle gets worse and worse, you start to feel despair, and they're like you're never going to get out of this, which turns into, in some cases, self-loathing. Why, I hate myself that I can't get over this, and that I'm stuck in this vicious cycle. You tend to withdraw from your healthy sources of contact. You tend to go out less, do less, see people less, contact people less. You also, some people feel fear. They fear the judgment that will come with their condition. Hopelessness, obviously you are stuck in a vicious cycle and you feel there's no way out. And lastly is unworthy. Now, I mentioned leave unworthy for last because this is not something I ever suffered from. But many people who suffer from depression do suffer. They feel they're unworthy of God's love. Something I did not, like I said, I did not suffer from. However, I did. The darker things got, the more I drew closer to God. The more I prayed. The more I prayed, the more I let God's light in. And this is how I would eventually come out of my depressive cycles. So, what brings the light into that darkness? I have mentioned at my baptismal that I am terrible at remembering Bible verses. However, there is one Bible verse that I remember very well, which is Psalms 23, probably because it's covered so many times when you're a young child. And verse 4 says, Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. And that is what I would pray over and over during these dark times. Now, I am all for getting help. So, and that might be great doctors and therapists. It might be, in your case, a family member that you can talk to, or a friend that you can talk to, or various other, anybody, even a church member, a brother or sister in this church, or another church that you can talk to during these dark times. Next thing is a better living environment. So this is where I have to thank my family because they tend to come in to help me there and pull me out from my bad habits of withdrawing from everything. And they will come and they will say, okay, let's go for a walk, right? And let's being around people that are positive but not judgmental. So let's go for a walk. Let's do something better. What also helps is seeing other people who recover, right? As I said, I've been to therapy, and some of it was group therapy. And watching other people leave the facilities, having recovered from their darkness, from their episodes, and going out back into the world healed people. What also helped me was finding this church. I was on my road to recovery, and I told my sister, well, I think it's time we try and find a church again. Right? We've been to quite a few churches, but we've never found the one that stuck. So we came to this church. And when we came to this church, someone, Haley, I'm not even going to be, ran up to us and said, hey, you're new. Welcome, all in Afrikaans, assuming we were Afrikaans, because this is an Afrikaans church, primarily, and welcomed us into the church. Then, I've forgotten Haley's mom's name, Cecilia. Sorry, Cecilia. Cecilia then said to us, we have communal lunch here. Don't you want to stay for lunch and join us for lunch? And I was like, we said, well, that would be nice. It would be nice to join you for lunch. And then afterwards, we're packing Bible studies. Wouldn't you like to join that as well? And we're like, yes, that will be great. And that made us feel like being part of this church, right? That we were now members of this church. Then I'd been in two jobs that were unpleasant, to say the least. And they had initially been my trigger events. And that had, so then finding a job in November of 2021 that didn't make me miserable, that I enjoyed, really did help alleviate my depression. Then getting baptized for the right reason. Realizing baptism was not so that I could die, and go to heaven. Baptism was about cementing my relationship with God, to say, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I want you to be close to me always, not just during the bad times, not just during the good times, every moment of every day. Right, so then lessons learned along the slope, both down and up. Right, so I put this picture in because it means a lot to me. We often celebrate people's success, and climbing the mountain, great, you succeeded, you are at the top of the world. But climbing out of a depressive hole is just as much a challenge and as a success as reaching the top of the mountain. So it took weeks. Months, years to get down, right? You don't just, wake up one day and the world's gone to pot. You slip down that slope quite gradually, although you tend to climb out of that slope far slower than you slip down. So never expect to come out of a depressive episode as quickly. It's like dieting, right? You didn't get fat in 2 weeks, so don't expect to get thin in 2 weeks. It should take you as long as it took you to get fat, to get thin, and the same goes for your depression, right? Forgive yourself for the negative thoughts and emotions and actions that you had while you were depressed. God forgives us and wipes our slates clean, as though they never happened. And this is what you need to do with yourself. Else, this will become ammunition for another episode that you will use against yourself. Right? Many people in the Bible suffered from horrible situations, and they overcame it with God's help. And while you are still climbing out, be like Paul, who was in jail, and sing hymns and be comforted in God's presence. Lastly, I mentioned the word kaizen, which is a Japanese word meaning change for better. And it generally goes with incremental changes, small incremental changes that lead to big things. Now, this reminds me of a talk that Saskia gave that says that small bad steps can lead to a big slip down the slope. But similarly, small good things can lead to a good path. I see my time is running out here. So, I'm going to share this this presentation with Christine so that it can be put on the group. But there are 10. I have given 10 Bible verses that help in times of darkness. The first one being Psalms 23. But another one I just want to mention, which was my second choice, is cast all your cares upon him, for he cares about you. And then the last one, praise be to God, God and the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble. And we are from the comfort we have received from God. Right. There's help out there. Like I said, I'll share this. There's an Adventist counseling services presented by Pastor Fleming and Dr. Dennis Berger. You can see the contact details in the Northern Conference Weekly Bulletin of the 13th of May. And then here are the SADC contact details for those of you that may need help. I'm going to hand over to my sister for the closing prayer.
Kom ons sluit af met gebed. Ons heilige en almagtige God, ons het U nodig, elke minuut van elke uur van elke dag. Ons vra dikwels, hoeveel keer Jy ons sal optel? Wanneer ons oë van Jou afvat, wanneer ons struikel, wanneer ons val, wanneer ons voel ons het nie meer krag nie. En Jy antwoord altyd, my kind, ek is oneindig lief vir jou. Ek sien jou las en ek dra dit saam met jou. Jy is nooit alleen nie en ek is altyd naby jou in jou tyd van nood. Ek sal jou optel. Al wat jy moet doen is vra. Here, leer ons om geduldig die kruis van hartseer, pyn en teleurstelling te dra. Leer ons om ons bekommernis, moedeloosheid en vrees na jou toe te draai, vir leiding, troos en opheffing. Maak ons harte dankbaar vir die goeie en die slegte tye. Gee ons elke dag ons genoegsame genade. Gee ons vrede en vreugde in U. Ons bid dit in Jesus se naam. Amen.